Welcome to the Armchair GM Podcast. And the
Well,
mood is somber.
the mood is somber, and Tuxedo says it best. It has never been more over.
Yeah. Yeah. What part was it? The disappointing loss or the win by the Blues? Just a nail in the coffin, right?
Well, that's the thing. The Blues have really
10 in a
been,
row.
yeah, they've won 10 in a row, and they just seem to be winning, 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 winning. And the Flames, like, you know, they deserve a lot of credit for how much of a fight they've put up over the past few weeks. But at the same time, it's pretty hard to catch a team who's winning 10 in a row.
Well, yeah, and they're doing themselves no favors, right? I mean, they had that road trip that looked amazing, right? And then they followed up with this one that just, I mean, obviously, the competition was, fairly stiff, I guess, but I mean, in reality, they just completely shit the bed, right? Like, I mean, didn't play well in Edmonton, didn't play well in Colorado, and then had spurts of uh, of a good game, I guess, tonight. But I mean, there's just so many different breakdowns, mental breakdowns, defensive breakdowns that just you can't do if you're a team that's trying to make it into the playoffs and expect to have any sort of success, even if you get there.
Oh yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, honestly, I thought they played really well for the first half or maybe three quarters of the first period, and then
Mhm.
they kind of didn't play very well for the rest of the game. And
Mhm.
playing 10, 15 minutes out of a 60-minute game just isn't going to get the job done. Um,
What?
and I saw some people obviously online, people who always fucking shit on Wolf, but I don't see any of this as Wolf's fault at all. Like, I don't think any of those goals are really on him. I think
No.
I think the it's blown coverage. It's Utah was pretty much given center lane drives over and over and over. It was uh, it was pretty bad to watch. Honestly, the
Yeah.
the, the defense.
Yeah. Yeah. The coverage was not good at all. I would never say that the loss is on Wolf, though he hasn't been as good, the last few weeks as he was for much of the season.
Oh, I
But
totally agree.
but
But like
yeah,
Tuck
definitely
said,
the loss is not on him.
yeah, like Tuck said, he's 926.
Yeah.
That's well above NHL average, right? Like
Mm.
he's not playing lights out. Dustin Wolf isn't playing lights out like he has for the vast majority of the season. I like you
Mhm.
said, the past couple weeks he hasn't been very good. Maybe 3 weeks he hasn't been very good. Um, I mean he's been fine, but
Yeah, I won't. Yeah, I wouldn't say he hasn't been very good. He hasn't been as good as he was.
yeah,
Right?
exactly. And he needed to be as good as he was to get this team who doesn't score into the playoffs, right?
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah, that's what we need at this moment to get to that level to make the playoffs. Being how we just threw away our top 10 pick, trying to get to this point, and then unfortunately the goaltending kind of teetered a bit, and we know that their scoring isn't enough to sustain any sort of push to become a playoff contender. So without that goaltending, it's just this is what we are, right? We're losing 2-1s, 3-1s, that sort of thing.
yeah, we don't have the game breakers, right? As much as Kadri has been very good offensively over the past few weeks, and Huberto has been very good offensively for
Mm.
on and off pretty much all season. Um,
Yeah.
I wouldn't call either of them game breakers. They can break a couple games a year, but game breakers to me are like guys who can throw an entire team on their back for weeks at a time. You know, the
Yeah.
Kaprizovs, the guys in Edmonton, as much as you don't want to say it, right?
Yeah, McKinnon. We'll say McKinnon.
McKinnon, yeah.
Yeah, McKinnon with
Apparently
our, defender and forwards that can actually put the game on their shoulders and pull out wins single handedly.
Makar.
We don't.
Yeah.
We don't have those guys, right?
Yeah. And yeah, like we're 0-3 against Utah so far in Utah's short existence. Not great, obviously really bad, especially that one game they played. I think it was Backlund's 1000th game. It was like 5-0, I want to say. It was terrible. That was a terrible, terrible game. I don't know what it is, but yeah, the Utahns have the Flames number. It's relatively hard to watch.
The team with no name. Who would have thought?
Yeah. The Wanderer's notebook. Honestly, don't know how to feel. Definitely feel screwed over by the refs having such a major impact in previous games. Yeah. I'm curious. I want to hear about, because obviously it's not the refs that called off that goal. That probably it looked into me anyways. But that's pure nightmare fuel. That's I don't like bringing up 04 because it's digging up the past, and digging up the past is it gets old after a while. But
it's counterproductive.
That was so similar. It was scary.
Yeah, it's another one of those. I mean, given the angle that they provide us on TV, it looked like it was in.
Yeah.
Do we have the NHL angles? No, I guess not. But I don't know. I still think that after any sort of play goes to review, I think at the end of the game, or at least the end of the night, they can do like a list of it and just announce what they saw.
Yeah.
And then I think it would put fans' minds at ease somewhat. They don't necessarily have to justify it, but at least especially when it comes to like goaltender interference, we'll say on the other night, right? Like why was it called that way? Like, give us a reason, and then we can understand what's happening. We're not always guessing.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I think that goaltender interference where Farabee was in the crease, that was bullshit. But at the same time, it's not. It's what they've been calling this year. If you go into the crease by yourself, which he did, it doesn't matter. Even if you slightly nudge him and he has time, and I think that's stupid because it misrepresents the game, but or what the game should be, in my opinion. But that's what they've been calling all year, and that's unfortunately. Even Elliot Friedman said it on the most recent 32 Thoughts podcast. They were talking about that goal and another one that happened in a different game on the same night, and they were saying, like, during the GM's meetings, they all went to the same, like, obviously all the GMs and the NHL bigwigs were all in the same room, and they all looked up. I think it was 30 of the most controversial no-goal calls or goal calls in the NHL over the past couple of years, and it was unanimous on almost all of them.
Yeah, I understand what they said there, but there's also that conversation that the ref told Farabee that if the shot was on glove side, it would have been called different than it was on blocker side. So it throws all of that right out the window.
Yeah. And that makes no sense.
Define going into the crease when it comes to Farabee in that play. He wasn't in the fucking crease. His toe might have been. That was a Glenn Cross type scenario from a decade ago or 15 years ago, whenever the hell it was.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't in the crease.
He put his foot in the crease, and unfortunately, that's how they call. I hate it. I hate it. Yeah. It's dumb, but that is how they're calling it this year. It's absurd to me, and well, they're calling it that way for everybody but Corey Perry, who's allowed to go in and cross-check the goalie in the
Yeah.
face and fucking pick up a puck
Okay.
and put it in. Like they call it for everybody but him, basically.
Okay. And how do we justify a goaltender being behind? Sorry, a player being behind the goalie in the crease when the puck goes in, and that's allowed? If they're
Yeah,
going to say blue paint is blue fucking paint. Period.
yeah.
Right?
No,
Because
no,
that happened to us. You know, the same fucking game.
yeah. No, no, I totally agree.
So,
Back to
like,
what we were talking
I'm
about,
getting tired of that one though. Yeah.
not having game breakers. Zane Parekh, I'm fairly sure that's what Tuxedo's talking about here. We might have a Makar in the pipeline. Offensively, absolutely. Makar is elite defensively, which you don't get from an offensive defenseman very often. And like he's a generational player. That team has
Mhm.
2 generational players. Um,
Yeah.
However, from all accounts, Zane Parekh has been getting better defensively, and that's huge for us. Hopefully, he continues. From what I hear, the preseason he had with Calgary really opened his eyes to the defensive side of the game and how important it is. And he's still like he's breaking OHL records every other day. It seems
Yeah.
like this kid is going to be crazy good for us.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pump the brakes on calling him the next Makar because there's one Makar, and there's hasn't been a generational defenseman in my opinion since Nick Lidstrom probably,
Right.
and he wasn't even generational offensively. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 No, that's fair. And I mean, Breck, he's a very intelligent human being, and I think he'll figure that out and is figuring that out. He's taken the necessary steps to become much better defensively, and if he can mix in, you know, some really good defense with obviously some high end offensive talent, then absolutely, those are we need a power play quarterback. We've needed that for a very long time.
Oh,
So if we can,
yeah,
if we have one in the making, eureka! That's great news.
absolutely. Did you see Parek's overtime goal from today?
No, not yet.
He looked like Matt Coronado, kind of like a release, a quick release from in between the circles. Um, it was crazy to see, and he got 3 points
Yeah,
on 3 goals today. Um, for
nice.
Saginaw, who's down 2-1 in their series right now. And I don't know if this sounds greedy. I'm curious what you guys have to say. But I kind of wouldn't mind him being eliminated from the OHL playoffs if we can get him in and give him some NHL experience for a little 3-4 game cup of coffee at the end of the season here. I wouldn't mind that at all. Or even just to hang out with the team and see what it's like traveling with an NHL team and stuff like that.
Uh, I want to see some of the young guys come up like immediately. To be honest with you, I mean, this is the time. This is when you need to find out what's going on. We have some RFAs coming up this year, so let's see what we have in the pipe and see what they're worth, and
Sure.
let's make the right decisions um, come the draft time, right?
Yeah, I do want to see some youngsters come up, but the Wranglers, I don't know how their game ended today. Their game is 3-2 for the Roadrunners right now. But I like they're really close to the playoffs, and I don't
Mm.
want to steal all of their best players or a couple of their best players and then make them miss the playoffs because AHL playoffs is also a great experience for these young kids, right?
Mm. Mm. Yeah,
The
agreed.
Wandering Notebook or the Wanderer's Notebook says, I just feel like the league has a vendetta against us. And I kind of get where you're coming from. My thing is that it's not just the Flames. This isn't Dennis Weidman shit. This is just bad refing and the NHL not knowing its own rule book and
Right.
that's the problem, and that's a huge problem. But it's not just against the Flames. I will be steadfast in this. It's not just against the Flames. It is every team in the league. You go on Reddit and you look at every team's subreddit, and it has people every game complaining about refs. It's not just us. It's every single
Yeah.
team in the league,
Yeah.
which
No,
means
exactly.
a league-wide problem. It's not just the Flames.
Yeah.
And that's not
I
me that's not me, forgiving them or giving them an excuse, because that's not an excuse. That's a shitty thing that the league appointed officials are that bad, and that the league appointed people watching video replay are that bad. It's garbage.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got the YouTube of that OT winner pulled up. If you want, I can.
Put it up here. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, do it up. Let's watch Zane Parek's wicked OT winner from tonight.
Yeah. Let's do it. See if I can do this properly. Even better. All right.
Here we go.
Zane Parekh trying to take it away. Davio's got it back. Davio sends this one into Mangoni, waiting for their men to get back on the right side. A 4-on-2 developing. Parekh shooting, he scores. Overtime winner comes from Zane Parekh. There will be a game 5 in Saginaw.
Just a quick release, completely
Yeah.
deceptive, nice little snapshot. He kind of looked like Coronado there. That was a beautiful shot. And I feel the same way, Tuck. I don't care if Saginaw loses out. He already has a Memorial Cup. He already owns several fucking OHL records. I think he's got a couple CHL records. If he loses out and comes up and mans PP1 and gets, 10 minutes of time per game in 4 games, I'll be happy. I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
I'm not as pumped as a lot of people are on Parekh, because I'm such a defense kind of a person when it comes to defensemen, but I'm still very excited. I'm most people are way up here, and I'm like right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just a little bit less excited, but I still want to see that. And like, this team is starving for offense, and starving for somebody who can run a power play. This kid, he's really good at it in junior. And I mean, he's reaching like Paul Coffey levels of junior play. It's insane.
I just hope it translates to NHL ice, right?
Yeah, me too.
And that's honestly that's kind of what I'm saying. Let's bring them up. Now's the time. Let's get them up. Let's see if they're ready.
Yeah, and obviously with Parekh, we have to wait until he's and with Battaglia, those guys have to wait until they are eliminated from the playoff. I don't think Battaglia will be eliminated. That his team is up in their series. Saginaw is down 2-1 now. So never know. It as much as it sucks for the kid to be eliminated from the playoffs, it would still be awesome for him to come up and have some NHL experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I agree. He could be Makar. I'm not going to say that's impossible. I'm just saying I'm pumping the brakes on that expectation. If he turns out to be Werenski, I mean, Werenski has people talking Hart Trophy this year because he's been that good for that team. So, yeah, I wouldn't hate that at all. That would be incredible.
Yeah. I would take that.
Anyone watching, make sure you throw any questions or comments about today's game or the past few games in the comment section below, and we'll read your comment and talk about it. I just feel out of 6 of your defensemen, 5 of your 6 defensemen are shut down, and that one is a stud offensively with some blunders defensively. It'll be fine. that is what you have a Chris Tanev for. That is what you have guys like. We have guys
Kevin Ball.
in the system like that. We have the Solovyovs and the Kuznetsovs and the Grushnikovs. It's a lot of ovs. And this Axel Hertig guy, I could be wrong. I heard something about him being the WHL Defenseman of the Year or something like that.
Really?
And he's like pure defense.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, so he's like a Kevin Ball or a Pahal
yeah, and
type
he's that
player,
size
which
too. I think he's like 6'3" or something like that. He's a big boy and plays
So
plays
you
a
put
big physical game.
so you put Perek with one of those guys. I mean, look at what Ball's doing for Anderson, right? He covers his ass defensively all the time.
Yeah.
He's finding it difficult to cover it all because of the blunders that Anderson's had this year, but he does it. He does it fairly well.
Yeah.
So I mean, just give him the time. Give him one of these. You know, I don't know. I would probably, if we can get away with the time on the ice, then I would say, give him Ball, because we all know that he can cover him.
Yeah. And yeah, Eric Jameson too has been great defensively for Everett. Like it's so early to say this, but the past two drafts, Conroy's first couple drafts, they have been so good in my opinion. I'm really excited. I'm not going to say all these guys we were talking about are going to turn into like everyday NHL players. Eric Jameson, Axel Hertig, we don't know yet, right?
Mhm.
But we have so many guys who are impressing throughout the entire system, whether it's up front or even goalies who aren't Wolf, like Arseny Sergeyev, who was actually a tree living pick, is absolutely lighting up college hockey right now. I think he's in the Final Four.
Yeah.
Defensemen, forwards. The only thing we're really missing is really good centers. The only real center we have in the system is Cairns and maybe Misa, but you never know, right? Like Honzek was drafted as a center, but they've been developing him on the left wing, so you never know. He could turn into a center too, but we don't really have like Tuck was saying earlier. We don't really have that one big time center in the system. That would be nice.
Yeah, that's kind of been a point of concern for quite a while too, right? And we kind of threw Monahan in that position, and he did fairly well at it. Don't know that I don't know if he would be a true number one center on any other team. He was definitely, number one in our on the Flames and did well at it. So I mean,
do you
that
have Monty beside you there?
yeah, of course I do. Sorry,
There
he's
he
here. He's always here.
There he is. Yeah. And the thing is like obviously Monahan was a huge fan favorite. I loved watching Monahan. He was one of my favorite Flames for a long time, right? But was
100%.
he ever really a first line center? Like he was our first line center. But I think
Exactly.
he was a
Well,
2A, like a 2A 1B center, right? Like not really a first line center on a competitive team.
100%. Well, it's the same thing what we have on defense right now, right? Like Weegar, Anderson, they're not true number one defenders. They're not a 1-2 on any other team, right?
I'd say they'd both be a second defenseman.
Yeah, they could be a second with a true number one for sure.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. Yeah, complimentary piece for that. Yeah, I give you that. But we've been struggling with that for so many years where we don't have an actual, true number one, winger, true number one center, true number one defender, a true number one goaltender. right? We've been doing this same dance for years and years and years. And we're seeing the same result every year, right? Make the playoffs, don't make the playoffs, make the playoffs, don't make the playoffs. Even if you make the playoffs, do nothing with it. So it's just,
It's,
it's time.
yeah, it's hard to it's hard to justify staying in the mushy middle, but the main reason, a lot of people kind of overblow this. It's not the only reason, like a lot of people say, but it is the main reason that we're in the mushy middle this year is Wolf, in my opinion, and the recent play of Vladar, but Wolf for most of the year. And in my opinion, the mushy middle is a little bit easier to stomach if the reason you're there instead of in the bottom is because of your young, potentially franchise goalie, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, because of Wolf through most of the season, and then now Vladar since Four Nations. Yeah, our goaltending has got the job done and is, given us an extra. In the last month, they've given us an extra 10 to 12 points.
Yeah.
In what we've done, so far in the last month.
Yep, absolutely. Imagine if Sam Bennett turned out like he was supposed to. Yeah, there was some people saying that he could be first overall that year, which is insane.
Well, it's insane now. I don't know that. Was it insane then?
Yeah, I mean, he couldn't do a pull up. I still don't think he was the right pick, but I'm not a huge fan of him. But he's proven that he's a perfectly serviceable second line center, right?
Wasn't the pull up thing kind of blown out of proportion? Wasn't he? Didn't he have like a shoulder issue that he was dealing with?
Shoulder or something? Yeah.
Yeah, you'd probably find it difficult to do a pull up into that condition.
No. I can do it with one finger. I'm fine.
Yeah, me too. See,
I have no proof of that, and I have no plans of trying to prove that.
we are elite at hitting the crest of a jersey for a goaltender. We're so fucking good at it.
We are elite.
But we had 42 shots, man. How come we only scored one goal? Well, when 30 of them are in the crest, you're likely not going to come out ahead. And you're absolutely right, Matt.
2-on-1 Backlund and
Farabee,
I think had.
Yeah.
Did it actually surprise you that Backlund hit the net? Like I knew he was going to shoot it that time, but
I knew he was going to shoot it too, and I was really hoping he was going to shoot it on the fucking ground so you can get a rebound off the pad. Isn't that how you do that play? You shoot it on the ground, you get a rebound on the pad. Your guy's coming up the left side, gets the rebound, boom, the puck's in the net.
Well, I was hoping
that easy on paper.
He was going to do what he always does, which is clunk it behind the net and have it bounce out back like from the backboards and back out front to Farabee. But he did not do that. We are elite at somehow not scoring. Although I think that somehow is a pretty easy thing to define.
There's so many things you can list in that somehow category.
Yeah.
And that's somehow not scoring. Yeah. Got to hit the net. And what was it?
An NHL defenseman.
I agree with you 100%.
I don't mind.
I'm sick of seeing him on the ice. I don't want him there.
I wouldn't be upset if he was a healthy scratch, but the issue with me is that if you scratch him, then you're putting Miramonov in, who's even less of an NHL defenseman.
Yeah, arguably worse.
Turned around way easier. I'm like I said, I'm not a huge fan of Bean. In fact, I'm not really a fan at all. I think he's easily replaceable. I would rather see a third pair of Pahal and Solovyov or Kuznetsov or Brustevich or whoever else. Pahal is great. He's been awesome since he came back into the lineup. I still don't understand why he wasn't in the lineup to begin with. But Bean and Miromonov can fuck off. For all I care. I hate that Miromonov signed for another year. I think he's the
Yeah.
least impressive player we have, and we have Rooney and Bean.
Come on. Leave Rooney alone. Go on. He does his
Actually, I
job.
didn't think Rooney was bad today.
No. I mean, the fourth line has looked pretty damn good in the last 2 games.
Well, I actually thought they had a pretty rough first period. I thought that they were hemmed in their own
Sure.
zone for at least a minute at one point, and it was hard to watch. But
Yeah.
Hanley has surprised me. Matt says I can't see
You
why
and I
we
both.
keep him next year. But could he sneak into the 6th spot on the playoff team? Yes, I'm surprised because of how well he's played. And the fact we snagged him off waivers, I was kind of surprised we didn't trade him at the deadline, just because I thought that that you could squeeze some value out of what he's brought this year, which is all due respect to him. I've really enjoyed watching him for much of the year, but I don't see him being in anybody's top 4, never mind on their top pair ever again.
No,
so-
definitely not. He's 33 years old, right? Like, let him go out gracefully. But I mean, he would be a good addition to the bottom pairing on any contending team.
Yeah.
It's
Tuck just
it's one
hates
of those
all
ones
of
that we kind of squandered the chance to acquire picks at the trade deadline, because that would have been one. Obviously, you're not getting a first or a second for Hanley, but why not just stock up the 3rd and 4th round picks and move these guys, and then we can bring up guys to replace them. It just makes no sense.
Rooney went 0% on the face-offs today.
Fuck,
Matt
are you
says.
serious?
I didn't
Oh,
see
man.
that. How many did he take, Matt? Check it. How many did he take? That is brutal.
Hold on.
I didn't.
I gotta find that. That's
When I said that I thought he played well, it wasn't even well, just not bad. I was more talking about his battle level and his speed. He was somewhat speedy today, and he actually handled the puck all right today. But I didn't. It's hard for me to pay attention to too many face-offs that the Flames take because they lose them all. Rooney going 0% is ridiculous, but let's be honest, the Flames face-offs suck all year long.
Yeah.
The fact that Frost is under 50% and him coming in actually helped our face-off percentage is hilarious.
Yeah. It was too. Fuck.
Here, I'll take a look here. I've had enough of Anderson. You talk about that for a sec, Chris, while I look up Rooney.
Hey, I've been really down on Anderson for about 2.5 years now. Basically, ever since he got back from that car incident in Detroit, he has not been good enough. He plays a ton of minutes. He's been a liability defensively more times than not this season, last season, most of the season before that. You know what? You and I talked about it. You and I have been yelling at the microphone for a number of years now. And every year we talked about him starting here, and then next year he just kept doing this, and they got to this point, and it's just been a steady decline down.
It has over the
It
past
really has.
year or so.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of upset that we didn't trade him, to be honest with you.
Quick sidebar, Matt. 0% on the face-off sucks, but he did only take 2. So, would have been nice if he won 1 or 2 of those, but 0% on 2 isn't soul crushing.
How do we have a centerman that only takes 2 faceoffs? Is that how much we're protecting him?
I don't know, but I do want to mention that the linesmen kick guys out of the faceoffs way too much. And I mentioned this online earlier. There was one point where Kadri actually yelled at him, and you know how I feel about Kadri yelling at refs and how it needs to end. But I agreed with him on this one. The dude sat there for like 25
Oh,
seconds.
for that. Yeah.
With hunched
I know which
over
one you
with
mean.
the puck hovering above their sticks like this. Both guys moved after 25 seconds.
Sure. As you would.
Drop the puck. Stop fucking around. Play the game. Like they wait for guys to move before they drop the puck, and then they're like, "Oh no, you're out." That's frustrating to me. Like, just play the game.
Yeah, that's garbage. That is absolute garbage.
Yeah. I would not go heartbroken. I'd not be heartbroken if Anderson went missing. So here's the thing. I'm still a fan of Anderson. I think he's one of the better leaders on the team. He munches minutes. I think he would be best suited as a guy who plays more like 17, 18, 19 minutes than 23, 24, 25. I think him not getting enough rest in the middle of games causes defensive blunders more often than it doesn't. That's just my opinion. I don't want to see him go missing or trade him for nothing. I'd be happy if we re-signed him. I'd also be happy if we traded him, because I do think that we'd get lots for him. He's going to demand $8 million plus. I think 8 is a pretty fair number, honestly. I don't think plus is great.
Based on what though? Just minutes?
Based on leadership and based on the fact that I think that he's a good defenseman. He just plays a little bit too much. And here's my thing. I think 8 million is going to be a second pair defenseman number in 2 years. Look at Jacob Chikrin, just got $9 million a year. Now he scores more, but he's also not great defensively, and he's a Band-Aid.
Right.
And to me, he's a second pairing quality defenseman who should play power play 1. Anderson probably shouldn't play power play 1, but
nope. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't want us to sign Anderson long term, but we can't go into next year with just Weegs and Ball and a bunch of AHL level guys. That I agree with, and that's one of the reasons I also want to keep Anderson. Again, long term is scary, but those guys, those young guys, the Sloviovs, the Kuznetsovs, the Brustevich, Parekh, you need guys who have been through NHL level wars to teach those guys how to get through it. I don't think you need Anderson for 8 years though, and that's what scares me. Like, if you could get him at $8 million for 4 or 5 years, I think that would be perfect. But I doubt he does that. So
yeah, that's the issue, right? I mean, there's no reason to, in my opinion, there's no reason to give him an 8-year contract. He hasn't shown enough to deserve that 8-year contract, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he's earned a 4 or 5 year contract, but I'd like to. I also, like I said, I'd like to see him kind of play less. Like, if you have Parekh let's say next year, and Uyghur manning the two different power plays,
Mhm.
that's an extra, 3 minutes a game that Raz doesn't have to play, right?
Right.
That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll agree with you on that. I just hope that we're not setting ourselves up for disappointment. I hope that we're not in a situation like we are with Kadri, where we're going, "Whoo, that's a killer. It's gonna get us."
Yeah, I am optimistic. I don't think I'm optimistic in one point and I'm pessimistic in one point with the Kadri thing, because I think he's shown enough this year when it comes to his play and his offensive ability. Although
Mhm.
today for the first time in a few weeks, I'll get into this later, but he showed some of the things that drive me fucking nuts about him. But his play, especially over the past few weeks, but overall this year, I think has probably shown other teams that he might be worth trading for. However, he didn't waive his no trade clause to go to fucking Colorado, where he won a cup with essentially the same team as they have now,
Yeah.
a couple years ago. So if he's not waiving for that, then where would he waive for? That's what I'm pessimistic
I
about, but I am optimistic that teams want him.
I'm still of the mind that there's something going on in Colorado that he doesn't want to be there for.
Meaning what? Like, are you talking like McKinnon's micromanagement of his team?
I don't know what it is, but I mean, like there was the talk that Colorado was offering him money. I don't know what it matched up to as far as what Brad was willing to just throw at him for no reason. But
Yeah, from
I
what I
just
heard, it
I
was
just
a couple mil less.
sure,
They couldn't
but
afford anymore. So
but we didn't start talking to him until he had already declined that money.
yeah,
So it's weird that a NHL player that all they want to do is win the cup, right? Obviously, they need to make a living. I get that, but win a cup with a team, have conversation as far as a contract. They throw 5 to whatever mil at you, and you just outright turn it down and walk out and end discussion altogether. I just find it weird. And then there was the talk that there was the opportunity to trade him here this deadline, and he wouldn't waive it. And I think there's something there. I think there's a reason why he doesn't want to go to that franchise right now.
I
I don't
heard.
know what it
I
is.
don't know how
Yeah.
true this is, but I heard some rumblings that he didn't waive because of the political climate and his obvious visible minority status in that country right now. But I don't know um if that's true or if that's just something people were saying online.
Yeah. I still think, I've been saying it for a while, I think the most likely spot he goes to is right there, Toronto.
Toronto. I could see that too. But really the only way I see that happening is if Brad lets Marner walk, which I could see him doing.
Yeah.
But that's the money's got to come from somewhere. And if they do sign Marner, they won't get Kadri, in my opinion. But if they don't sign Marner, then they could probably make that trade. And I wouldn't hate that. The thing is didn't they trade Easton Cowan? No, they traded Fraser Minton. Like they're running low on prospects and picks.
Right. Well, it's fine. Then they can sign Marner, trade him to us for Kadri, and we'll call it even. Brad owes us.
Brad owes us a lot.
Yeah.
But
He fucked us, so he owes us.
yeah, and
I
you know,
I haven't gone to Boston Pizza since. Oh wait, I
mean,
didn't go to Boston Pizza before either. But
Yeah.
still, he owes us.
that I agree with. Little homecoming for Kadri would be nice for him. Yeah, I think so too, and I think that
Yeah.
a lot of Leafs fans agree with that. I know. I mean, it was months ago, but I was listening to Steve Dangle talk about, and his buddies there talk about how they wouldn't mind Kadri as a 2C. But then one of them looked up his contract and it was like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, understandable. I do
I
get it.
I would hold if I were Conroy, I would hold 2 mil. I would because
Yeah.
even a 38-year-old Kadri at 5, that's stomachable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Obviously with the way Kadri's played this year, even 7 mil's fine. We all know that's not necessarily going to be the case for the final years of that contract. So 5 mil, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Somebody that's roughly 50% at the dot can contribute offensively.
I
Yeah,
would have
he's a bit
liked
of a
him to
liability when it
really,
comes to penalties, but he can draw some as well.
yeah.
I just have always had an issue with his demeanor. Whether it be in interview form or mostly on ice antics and shit like that. I'm just not a fan. But
He reminds me of somebody who would fire me if they heard me say this. Um,
Mm.
he doesn't seem like a super sincere person, but that's also the media. So um, I don't blame him. I'd probably fucking if I had more microphones than this in front of my face, I'd probably spew a whole bunch of bullshit as well.
you spew this. You spew that amount of bullshit with one microphone in your face.
That's true. That's true.
So,
But
but don't.
it just
But you're
seems
right.
like
You're right.
my
If people
biggest
have that
issue,
kind of,
my biggest issue with him in the media is that when it's good, it's oh yeah, I've been playing well, I've been great, I've been this, I've been that. But when it's bad, it's oh the team's been shit. The team's needs to step up. It's he doesn't take the accountability when he's bad. That's what bugs. That's why part of the reason why I don't think he's a great leader. But I'm also not in the dressing room, so I don't know. But I just wanted to talk quickly about the things that I saw creeping back into his game. I don't know if you saw it, but the Superman thing started again, and he kept leaving the puck behind him today. Again, he's been really good over the past few weeks. I want to reiterate this because people seem to think that I never give him credit when it's due. He has been really good, and he hasn't been doing most of the things that drive me nuts over the past few weeks. But today, he was fucking giveaway king. He kept giving the puck away. He kept leaving it behind him. He kept trying to dance through several guys and running into guys. And yeah, he was that drives me nuts.
I think in his defense, and I do agree with you. He was doing a lot of that. I yelled 2 times during the game for him to knock it off.
Yeah.
In his defense, a little bit though, when you become desperate as a team to get the puck in the net, it happens to everybody, right? They'll just try and take it over themselves and just do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way he goes about his business when he's doing that is really actually frustrating. When he's trying to, I got the puck on my stick there, and I'm going to try and push through 3 players or 3 defenders. I can do it. You can't fucking knock it off.
Stop it.
Pass it over to somebody with some ability to do that, and then go get open and get ready for a shot.
There was one specific time that I remember 3 bad zone entries because of him doing that today. But there's one specific one where all along the blue line, there was 3 Flames stopped, and there was 4 Utah guys stopped all along the blue line. It was a wall. And what did he do? He grabbed the puck, he looked around, and then he skated completely laterally from one side of the ice to the other and just looked and saw that there was no room, and then he tried to go in anyways where there was no
Right.
room. It lost the puck. Puck went the other way. That shit drives me nuts.
Right.
That sometimes dumping is okay, and he also stopped all of his teammates' forward momentum by making them stop at the blue line. So at that point, dumping wouldn't even help. You know,
Right.
because
Yeah.
there's no forward momentum and couldn't go back and get the puck.
That's right.
There's no way we don't draft top 8 next draft, right? I mean,
Talking 26 draft?
yeah, he's talking.
Yeah.
Wait, Tuck, are you talking about this upcoming draft or next draft? Either way, I don't think we're drafting top 8 in either draft unless we've traded Anderson and we've traded Kadri and we've traded Huberdeau regresses back to his previous self over the past couple of years, which please don't do that. Because he's been fun to watch this year. I don't see that happening as much as I would like to. What I do see is a world where this year specifically, teams seem to think that this is a rough draft, and there's a couple guys in the 5 to 8 range that I've like Roger McQueen, and there's another Russian kid that looks really good that I would be really interested in, and I feel like other teams might not want to take risks on those guys because, first of all, the Russia thing where you never know when they're going to come over or if they're going to come over, and with McQueen, the injury thing, the fact that he's been out most of the year with injury. But I would not be surprised if Conroy trades up a little bit, as long as it's with a team that thinks they're close, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like if it's like, for instance, I don't think we have what Philly would want, but I think Philly is done with the rebuild. You know what I mean? Utah, they don't want to be rebuilding. So teams like that, if you could package one of your players, I think, for instance, Kadri would be a great fit in Philly. Don't think he'll wait for that, but that's just an idea. Or Rasmus Anderson going to Utah. I think if you package that with your later first round pick, you might be able to get into the 8, 9, 10 area and get one of those guys.
Yeah. I think it would be funny if Philly decided that they weren't going to rebuild anymore after getting rid of Tortorella. They didn't want to be there because they were rebuilding.
Well, Briere said that he was done with the rebuild when he got hired.
Right.
But
Sure.
and you don't hire Torts thinking, oh, we're going to be a rebuilding team. You fire Torts because you think you're going to be a rebuilding team.
Right. Yeah, he's not the guy for that job.
No.
He needs people that are between the ages of 29 to 36. That's what he coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Guys that are from a different era than what's being brought up now. We don't need Torts screwing anybody's career or anybody's sensitive nature on the ice. We don't need that.
Yeah.
It's bad form for them.
I actually thought back around the time when Sutter was leaving, I thought Torts would be because at that time we had a bunch of 27, 28, 29-year-old players, and our young guns were like Kachuk, who
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure Torts could coach Kachuk. You know what I mean? Even if he's a little
Well,
young.
the only way that Torres could coach Chuck is if Heath got his hands on him and said, "Fucking listen to this guy because he knows what he's talking about."
Yeah.
Right. I think he would be. Yeah, I think he would do well for Kachuk. Either one of the brothers, to be honest. I mean,
Gavin McKenna would change this
obviously,
franchise. Yes,
holy,
Gavin McKenna would change this franchise.
holy
Are we going to draft third
Captain
overall
Obvious.
next year? I will. I
Imagine.
will chug an entire case of Pabst Blue Ribbon on this fucking podcast if we draft first overall next year. I hate that shit. That stuff is gross.
Don't you drink Pilsner on a regular basis?
Yeah, that tastes good though.
Yeah. I mean, bucket tuxedo. He's already made the bet. So let's make the calls. Let's tell everybody it needs to happen. I don't give a shit what we need to trade. Let's get that first overall. We need McKenna.
I would be happy to do that if we got Gavin McKenna. To me, the thing is like, I don't think Wolf, I don't think Uyghur, I don't think Huberto, I don't think those guys are going to let us unless we draft, we enter the draft lottery with the 8th overall pick and we get insanely lucky and win the lottery. I don't
Right.
see those guys letting us sink that low. They're too good. Kadri too.
When's McKenna eligible for the draft?
Next year. Like not in a couple
So
months, but
26.
next year.
Right.
This year is James Higgins, I think is, and Matthew. There's a defenseman, Matthew something or other, who's been lighting it up, who's really good too. But
Right.
yeah, those are the two guys who people think are going to go first. But there's a few players. Oh, the Russian kid I was thinking of is Rybakin or Rybakin. I don't know how to speak Russian, but that's how you say that guy's name. I think him and McQueen are both kind of in the 7th to 12th kind of range. I'd love to get one of those guys.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So basically, all it's going to take is for, I don't know. I personally think we should probably put Wolf on the Wranglers again, just to make sure that he's geared up for the 26-27 season, right?
Could you imagine?
Yeah, I think no. Fuck.
Could you imagine we sign him to like an 8x8 contract this offseason and then we just throw him in the minors for the whole time?
Jeez. Yeah. That would be awesome. That seems like such a Vegas thing to do, though, doesn't it?
Yeah. It does. It's crazy to think the two franchises that have never drafted in the top 3 are Calgary and Vegas, and if you count Utah. I mean, Utah is technically technically a new franchise. So anything that the Coyotes did in the past no longer counts for Utah.
Right.
But yeah, no, it would be nice for us to draft in the top 3 once, but I just don't see it. Like, I think Wolf is too good next year, especially next year, and I don't think he's going to have it, that much of a sophomore slump or anything like that. I think he's going to be a well above league average goalie next year, and I can't see Huberto regressing much next year. I'll knock on wood for that one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like
And I mean, if you trade Kadri and Anderson, you probably fall into that. Like, you probably fall into that. I don't know, eighth overall, no, fifth to 10th overall spot. Not the first to fifth, right? Like Chicago is bad. Like you have to be bad on purpose, and Conroy is never going to be bad on purpose. You know what I mean? Um,
no, he wouldn't be bad on purpose, but I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, Chicago is dog shit, and they're and oddly enough, they're better than San Jose, which is weird.
yeah, San Jose's got high vibes though. That's kind of interesting to see.
They've got what high vibes?
Yeah, that like
What does that
the
mean?
team itself, like the I know how like the vibes in Chicago are terrible, and people are like, "Oh, Bedard's gonna want
It's
out," which is like dumb. But they're not gonna fucking trade Bedard.
Chicago's a shithole.
Yeah,
Nobody's happy in Chicago. Nobody's ever been happy in Chicago. Even if they win the cup, they're not happy in Chicago.
no, no, but
San
no,
Jose.
it's like San Jose. They've been terrible this year, but all of their players seem happy. That's all
Well,
I'm
that's
saying.
not good either, then, is it? The worst team in the NHL, and they're happy about it. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure they're not happy about it, but if they still have a happy mentality after a garbage season, they need to change their culture there too.
So, Tuck, you're thinking that if we had lost, if we didn't start the season on a high note like that, with that man, that fucking Zeri overtime goal from the first game of the season,
Oh yeah,
that's that was fucking nuts.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
That was it. We were winning the cup after that, right?
yeah. But you're right. Like if we hadn't started the season off on a high note and like yeah, definitely could have been bottom 10. Probably would have been, but I still don't think we would have been bottom 5. Like
No.
you never know, right? Never know what could happen. Fuck man, I hope Zeri comes back. Like not this season. I think he probably should rest up and heal up and get a good
Wait,
summer.
wait.
But like I hope he comes back next year and like is a house on fire, which is quite frankly a dumb saying, but I said it.
The I know, like I know you're a huge Zari fan, and I am too. I'm not as pumped on him as you are, and obviously I wish him all the best on his recovery. I don't see there's any reason for him to be back this season. There's
No,
no
I don't
way,
either.
you know,
You don't
we've
risk
got
an
what
injury,
no,
even if
no,
he
there's
can
no
come back. Like no.
yeah, shut it down. Yeah.
No. Matt, I'm in Australia, so I don't get to see much juniors, only the stats. But is Gradin a sneaky chance at becoming a top liner? So Matt Gradin is like I don't watch much juniors. In fact, I don't watch any juniors. What I do is I watch like YouTube videos breaking down the defensive game and the offensive game of specific prospects, especially around draft time. Like they're called draft profile videos. I watch those, and I also watch a lot of highlights that come up on my feed from Flames prospects. And Matt Vigardine really intrigues me. I'm a huge fan of him. Now, obviously, in the QMJHL, you can't really play that physically, and there's no fighting and all that type of stuff. But his offensive game reminds me a lot of Iginla, and his stature
That
reminds me a lot of
yeah.
Iginla, and his skating stride reminds me a lot of Iginla. Um, I'm not going to say he's Iginla because he's not. But he's he can score from anywhere in the offensive zone. He's got a really wicked wrist shot. He's got a wicked one-timer. He can drive the front of the net if you need him to. He's got underrated playmaking skills, and he kind of draws a lot of the opposing defensemen towards him and then dishes it off to his teammates a lot. At least this is, again, like when you watch highlights, you see the highlights, right? So I don't know what he's like the rest of the time, but he looks very intriguing to me, and he looks like he could be a steal at, what was it, 28 or something like that, where we
Yeah, he was low. Yeah. Yeah. And he's got 5 points in his last 2 games, right?
Gradine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, yeah, there's a chance that he can come in and be a top liner. That'd be awesome if he can. I mean,
It's worth
other than that,
mentioning he led the USHL in points, I believe, last year, and he's like, I think he's in the top 20 of QMJHL scoring this year, and that league is very low scoring. I read that too, and that's funny.
you really cracked me up sometimes. That was amazing. Come on, Sharon Govich, he would have had a goal tonight if his fucking stick didn't break in like his first shift.
Yeah, but then he disappeared for the rest of the game. It's
well, he got pissy about it and then went away.
It's so tough to see because Sharon Govich, I like Sharon Govich. I don't know why he's been so shit this year. He has been shit this year, but you'll remember, Chris, when we got him, I was pumped.
Yep. I was too. I was excited because that was a Toffoli trade, right? And I was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. I looked at his stats. I watched some video and I'm like, yeah, okay. And he didn't start out well, but then he sure showed up like after like game 10 to 15. He really showed up and I really started appreciating his shot and watching him go last year. It was a lot of fun to watch him last year. I was super pumped for him. And his social media stuff is funny as shit. His interviews are funny as shit. I was just like, you know what? I like this guy. This is good. This is what this team needs.
There's nothing better than a guy who has no idea what the question is trying to answer the question in broken English.
Yeah. and he does Lego like a motherfucker, right?
Yeah.
He's just such a unsuspecting person. Like I'm sure he's probably the most he could possibly be the new boring Sean Monahan behind the scenes, right? So I'm sure he's just very quiet, reserved. Is who he is.
I think Shane O'Brien took credit for that. I think it was Shane O'Brien.
Did he?
Or maybe it was Chris Butler. It was one of those like.
I feel like it was Chris Butler.
Yeah, one of those like 7th defensemen that we had around that time took credit for being boring Sean Monahan, and that was good stuff. Adar Suniev, this kid is doing great this year and really opening some eyes. It'd be nice to see him step up and claim a role on, whether it be a high up role on the Wranglers or a role on the Flames during the camp next year. Because this guy he's got me pretty excited too. Again, Conroy's drafting has been fucking great. Really, really good.
His drafting's been really good, and his trades when he first came in as GM were great. And the trades he did last year were great. He's struggled a bit this year. I'm not saying they've been bad, but they certainly aren't nearly as good as they were last year.
Yeah. But
he'll get back into form.
You can't just
got to get back in the game shape.
Every trade. That Lindholm trade, that was Matt Vegradine. That pick was Matt Vegradine, and also Hunter Brustevich, Kuzmenko, whatever. But like Matt Vegradine and Hunter Brustevich are both going to be, in my opinion, really, really good Flames.
Mhm.
Maybe not no top line, top pair guys. Maybe, who knows? But
Yeah.
I think they're going to be really solid contributors to the Flames for the foreseeable future when they step up and get into the lineup.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Is
It's
he?
going to be.
Apparently, Suniev is clicking at a higher points per game than Coronado in the same NCAA league. Yeah, Coronado actually, his goals per game was pretty good, but his points per game was. I could be wrong on this, but I seem to remember looking it up around the time he made the jump to the Wranglers, and I don't think his points per game was even a point per game. I think
Right.
it was around a point per game, but not quite. But I mean,
Yeah.
he's been good. I like Coronado. Coronado is what Mangiapane should have been.
Give me 1 minute.
Guy
I
who can
apologize.
actually win the battle, not just pretend like he's going to win the battle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Chris has to go, I guess. Um, yeah. Anyways, that game against Utah was a little bit tough to watch. It's too bad that the Flames couldn't come out with 2 points. It looked like they were going to pour it on near the end. I really appreciate everyone coming to watch the post-game show. Make sure you follow us and check us out on YouTube and all that kind of stuff. Cheers and go Flames go.